Con bought the materials to build the house, but didn't build the house. Me, Rich, and Finn built the house, and now Nathan and a lot of other people are just living in it.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Triple B podcast. Today we have got Jallum, Lord Jallum, an ex-SCB member on the podcast today as a special guest. We're going to be discussing why on earth he's no longer a member of SCB. So let's get into it.
Well, it's a very long story, I'm going to say that. I've basically been in SCB from the start, near enough. I didn't have much. I was meant to be fighting on the first event, but obviously train strikes and stuff couldn't get there. And I got heavily involved in the team after, it was like, it would have been about February, late January. I was heavily involved. And, oh my God, it was a lot of work. I can't lie. And you have a big team.
I've been involved. I've been involved with boxing promotion in the past. Like, I really have. I understand the work rate that's gone into what, like, I've seen SCB 001. I saw that show and it was absolutely dog shit. And then moving forward to SCB 002, it seems like they put a decent team of people together. But I've heard that there's sort of, a little bit of, let's say, debates in amongst the team at the time of who was doing the most work and who wasn't.
Yeah.
What have you got on that?
I wouldn't even say it's a debate, Like, I'm sure, like, I've spoke to loads of the team members and stuff, and they even went, yeah, me, Finn, and Rich carried the whole thing on our backs, right? And the saying that's going around now, right, is me, Rich, Con bought the materials to build the house, but didn't build the house. Me, Rich, and Finn built the house, and now Nathan and a lot of other people are just living in it. That's what's going around right now, and it's nothing but fact. And if you ask an SCP team member that's been there from the start, like Connor or Benjamino or anyone like that, they'll go, yeah, me, Finn, and Rich. And I'm sure, well, Finn and Rich can't lie about it either. They'll say, yeah, us three did all the work. And then when you get a team together to make an event, you'd think, okay, then the whole team, you give jobs to people, and then they do them. But then you get them not doing them, and then that's more work on your plate to do. And you don't get any money for it. You know what I mean? You don't get paid for it. You're running just off enthusiasm and wanting to make an entertaining event. And it can keep you going, but the mental, like, strain and, like, because I'm a university student, I've got uni to do. That my uni house was like a gulag. You know what I mean? It was awful. It was like damp and stuff. I was ill constantly because of it. Obviously, farming at the moment is terrible in the UK because everything's hard now.
Wait. You're actually a farmer?
Yeah.
I knew it. The way you dressed at that bloody press conference,
man,
I was like, this kid's a farmer, man.
That was the whole point.
Well, it makes sense. It all makes sense, man. That whole outfit, that's his best dress. That's what he'd wear to a wedding, honestly.
That's it, mate. It definitely
is. But so touching on, you say about, all the effort that you were putting into making the show go ahead, you and the team, but with no profit at the end of it. So something that was really a big question mark over the SCB 002 event was the charity that it was in aid of. Now, a lot of people were under the assumption for a long time that SCB 002 was all profits going to the Autistic Society, right? National Autistic Society. However, towards maybe about 4 or 5 weeks before the event went ahead, there was a tweet that stated only 20% of profit was going to that charity. So can you explain a little bit more on that as to why that wasn't like sort of mentioned very early on, and whether or not that 20% actually went to the charity?
Well, that just shows how messy it was when you've got 3 people doing the work of like a massive team. Because bear in mind, Finn would be doing logistical work and spreadsheets, so he won't have anything to do with that. And then it's either you speak to me briefly or Rich. Like with you guys, like with you, Beeman, like you were one of the exceptions where you'd probably have a bunch of us in a meeting at once. That is extremely rare for a fighter or someone to have all of us in one place. You know what I mean? It's just the fact of poor communication and poor allocation of jobs to get that out there. And the communication side of it just breaks down. Like, it's the fact that the communication within the team is so dog. Like, if the communication is dog within the team, imagine getting that communication out of that into a public setting. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
always a percentage.
Even unintentionally, like we've seen it happen with Warzone streamers in the past and Twitch streamers. The Dan Dangler done a charity stream, right? Made out like it was this big thing, and then at the end of it, stated that only 50% of the money made on that stream was going to that charity. Now, it was still a lot of money, but people before the stream started were under the influence that whole everything donated and everything made during that stream was going to the charity. So it's just a slight misunderstanding. Even if it's like unintentional, it can still look bad. I know people like personally. I've spoke with Alfred Sucks. He raised a lot of money himself for the charity. Like I think he made raised $2,500. I think he put about $1,000 of that in himself as well. So like obviously he's done that because in his head he thought everything to do with this event was directly going to charity, any profit, all profit. And when he found out it was only 20%, he set up his own GoFundMe. But like, I mean, on that note, I'd like to like swiftly move over to the you mentioned about the sort of group phone calls that we had, right? So although you've said like, oh, you were like the only fighter who managed to get us all in a call at once, that was down to me and Rich having like a little bit of a chat prior to me, you know, agreeing to fight on the show and me offering to help him out with the show because obviously I've got the experience in boxing, I've got the experience in promoting boxing shows, and I offered him help and he said that he would be able to set up a group call on a weekly basis. And by the way, that whole system fell apart. You know, I was sat there waiting for these calls to go ahead and there was just nothing. I mean, even when I was trying to arrange them, nothing. So I just in the end I stepped back, like, but I felt like there was a lot of sort of, you know, promising and whatnot that got broken along the way.
Yeah.
And towards maybe the last 4 weeks of my camp, I also started to feel like that everybody was sort of siding with JST. Almost like there was good, and I'd already seen a lot of broken promises. I'd already seen a lot of, you know, misinformation being put out accidentally or, you know, unintentionally, whatever. But all of this started compiling, and then I see that, you know, you've got the likes of Leo Waynes, you had the likes of Rich, the likes of yourself, the likes of others, all bigging JST up, and no one really speaking about me. And you got to bear in mind, you've in a group chat that we were all in. I had Rich, I had Finn, and a couple of others pretty much begging me to fight on the show, saying that, you know, you'll help boost views, you'll help this, you'll help that, please do us a favour. I had to go back and have a little sit and think about it, of course. Yeah. In the end, I decided, you know what, it's an opportunity for me to get on the scene, so yeah, I'll take it. So I essentially done SCB a favour, and then had nothing but hearing about my opponent being great.
I remember like a conversation in a meeting, and they can come out and say this is bull, this is not bull. What ended up happening was they were saying Halford, and it was a Halford conversation. It was like Halford doesn't promote; he's not promoted on Twitter. And I'm like, bear in mind, Rich, right? His main platform is Facebook, and if you jump in a stream, right, he's mentioning it, and then him mentioning. So why would you deviate from your main, where your main audience is, to do it on Twitter when there's hardly anyone in there anyway that would, like, in comparison to his main platform? But then even then I spoke to Halford the other day. He was like, I didn't even know this, but he has a fan base, so he doesn't have to push it. Obviously, promoting's good, and he promoted it in his streams, but it was apparently in his Discord, like, all his people in his Discords were talking about it.
Let me come off the back end of that as well with the fact that Halford actually sold quite a lot of them VIP tables at the event as well.
He did,
right?
He
so
did.
He'd done a lot of work, right? And I, honestly, if I was in his shoes at that time, right, I would have told everyone, don't bother. That's me being direct. Like, I would have said, don't bother coming. These guys have just literally bashed me all over the internet, stating that I don't do this, and this, even though I've sold this amount of tables, right? Now, take that into consideration. Halford Sucks has travelled from London. He sold tables at the event. It's not that far from London to Worthing, but he still sold tables at the event. Yeah. Now, his opponents, during the face-to-face or during the interview, right, his opponents was trying to get a bet out of Halford. What was it, $1,000, $2,000, whatever? Yeah. And Halford said, listen, like, hey, I've said I'll do it, but let's put the money to charity. And he's like, nah, I've gave enough money to this charity. Those were Tommy's own words. And guys, if you are watching, you can go and check it out on the SCB channel right now. You can go and check it out where Tommy literally says to Halford that he's given enough money to this charity, meaning the National Autistic Society. However, unless he made a personal donation that I don't know about, I would like to ask you now, Jallum, how many of his guests paid for the ticket on that night?
Zero,
Well,
allegedly.
zero, yeah.
And that's what was from him.
So personally, right, you got to remember this, right? The reason Tommy was involved in that show is why? Because
to sell
Rich
local
goes
tickets.
to university with him.
Exactly, yeah, that's the whole point.
So it's a friend of Rich's to sell local tickets, and he couldn't even do that. Right? And he's been bragging online, bragging on social media about how he was the one who brought the crowd. Bringing the crowd and getting the crowd to pay income is two completely different things. For the promoter, right? I could have brought 1,000 people and just told them all, listen, you're getting in for free. But that's not how it works, right?
No.
At the end of the day, it's a business, whether or not there's charity involved or it's just business for profit. It's a business. And the fact is that if Tommy's been able to just let people in for free on that night, there has to have been someone within SCB who's allowed that to go ahead, surely.
Yeah, like, and it's not me. You know what I mean? I was I was busy, but I don't even think it's Rich. Like, that's the funny thing.
I just think they've just walked in.
Yeah, I do too. I reckon it was just like, these are my team.
We don't know that.
I reckon it was like, these are my team, and then he just walked in and then walked out with more new people. Someone said it right, and I can't remember who said it. They went, you've got friends, not fans. You know what I mean? They aren't there for like,
I actually think that comment was from Snail, you know. I'm not even messing.
It might have been.
We're going to get into the reason now why I believe, this is me looking from the outside in, why I believe you've parted ways with SCB. Is it down to the fight between you and Nathan that should have happened a certain weight but changed weight about 14 times? Is that the reason?
There are... I say it's 3 factors. The one was there are biases, as you say, to people like Tommy, who isn't a creator. And that was kind of like, you know what I mean? I was a bit like, he's a dick foremost. And, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't create content. And then you're prioritizing people like that over people that do. You know what I mean? It doesn't bode well for someone. The other reason was, have you heard about the Mizzy thing?
No.
They wanted to get, Mizzy got into contact with us.
And Mizzy's this guy who's been like walking into people's houses and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Leo knew him. I don't know how. Thing is, right? I feel like there's been meetings with Leo, Nathan, Rich. I don't know. But bear in mind, me and Finn are meant to be the 2 co-CEOs, just fucking in name only. It seems, and it seems like there's been some sort of conversation with Mizzy, and then they're like, join this call. We joined this Zoom, right, one at a time. Those 3 were already sat in it, and they're like, Mizzy's on. And at first I was like, I'll be honest, I was like, there's pros and cons. The pros are there's eyeballs, but then the cons are it's Mizzy. You know what I mean? But then I spoke to Cowboy and Ethan, right? And Cowboy was like, saying to me, it's a really bad idea. The cons are more if you deep it. And me and him sat on a call for a bit and we're like, oh my God, this is a terrible idea. Because what's going to happen is if you do this in London and you get Mizzy to go, you're advertising that this person that everyone hates isn't going to be in this location, right? You need to ram your security up to protect the fighters, Mizzy themselves, and the spectators. It's not even just that, though. Like, the funding for that would have been ridiculous. It's just the image as well. You know what I mean? You've platformed this person who's doing all these things. And it's kind of like, I was talking to Cowboy about it, and it was like, it's kind of like selling your soul for clout in a way. And it's kind of like...
But the thing is, he wouldn't even sell tickets.
No, they just show up. The thing is, they probably just show up.
Yeah.
The team, a lot of the team just weren't keen on it, and that was in the process of still being decided when the Nath shit kicked off. Because there was a fight, right, that came to us, and it was 110 kilograms or whatever he weighed. I was like a fat 96, 97 at the time. I was overweight. I shouldn't have been that fat, and still am, but less as. And the fight was put forward. And it was like, I'll fight him because I'm in the same weight class as him. Nathan is like 88, so he's like cruiserweight. He's like, I'll fight him because it makes more sense because I'm more clouted than you. And I'm like, yeah, but like, you're not the weight class. And then he was like, no, I'll come up. And then the person gets cold feet and doesn't want to fight anymore. And then Rich is like, well, why don't you two just fight? Because you're closer in weight anyway. And I went, yeah, I'm all for it, Nay, for you. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, I'm going to go to light heavyweight because... and I'm like, a second ago, you were willing to go all the way to heavyweight. So what's going
And
on
that's
there?
what
You
the
know what I mean? Like,
t-shirt's about now, yeah.
yeah, and then all of a sudden, he's like, oh, my coach said that. And then we were going back and forth saying, and he was basically said, get to 89 kilograms by, like, before 002 and we'll run it. And then within, like, 2 weeks, I just dropped, like, 7 kilograms. It was stupid, right? Most of it would have been probably like water weight. You know what I mean? And I dropped to it. And then all of a sudden, he's like, fuck. So then he makes it lower again. Like, and I'm like, all right then. And it basically just went like that for the longest time. And he made it lower and lower, so I wouldn't accept, thinking I wouldn't. And I went, all right then, all right then, all right then. And then it was got to the point where, fuck, you know what I mean? And then we agreed on 86 on the night of SCP 002, because I'd given up at that point. Like, I just got this t-shirt to take the mick out of him, you know what I mean? Like, on the press conference day.
Yeah.
On the day after, like, of the event, or not day after, on the night of the event when everything is finished and we're all sat in, like, the lobby bit, I just went, no, I've given up with the fight with you. And SCB team members were sat here for this, and he went, oh, so you're ducking me now, are you? Getting all like that. And I'm like, don't be like that, mate. You know the reason it's not happened is all you. I've said yes to every single thing. And then he was like, all right, we'll agree on 86 then for 003. And then I was like, calm then. And then a few days ago, before this all kicked off, there was a meeting, right? And then basically, like, Rich and that were like, right, let's get this fight sorted then. Actually, what weight is it? And then he said 84 then. And I was like, it was 86 before, but whatever. I said, virtually shake my hand now like that. Like, this is it. This is it. All the team as a witness here that was there. This is going to be on 003, and we'll make it a big fight. Like, I know the community is bigger than just the Twitter community, but that is big for that bit. So people want to see it. And I get messages of people all the time like, why am I not fighting? And I'm like, there's too much work to do for me to fight. And it was like, yeah, calm, it's all set in stone then. I'm telling Rich, he's fucked, because I've been, like, losing weight anyway, just trying to keep fit. And I just think I'd batter him anyway. Most people do, I'm pretty sure. And and then all of a sudden, like, a day or two later, it's a massive miscommunication with Leo, because I think Leo's been stitched up by Nave, because what Nave said was Leo and Rich rang me this morning and basically said, we've got a bigger fight for you than Jallum, so let's stitch Jallum up, even though we verbally all agreed and we've shook on it and all, it's all set in stone, and just shaft him basically and get you a higher spot on the card and just shaft me. But then when I'm seeing it as you're shafting your one of your hardest workers, right? That's done basically built it with you. Nathan's done nothing, right? As I said in that thing, look on his TikTok. Has he put on SCB promo once? You think you'd do it on your biggest platform, wouldn't you? You'd think. You'd talk about it.
It all depends. Like, I mean, obviously, for me, as a creator, I understand how the algorithm works and how it can be harmed by posting different style content. However, if Nathan does regularly post things related to boxing, and I have seen his TikTok, so I think that there's been the occasional one related to Kingpin and Misfits and calling out people and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say that it would probably be beneficial for him and for SCB to promote the SCB shows on there as well.
But it's the fact that people on his own thing didn't even know he was presenting, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't know anything what he was doing. He just showed up and it was just like that. But then it's like, with that being said as well, I was like, you're stitching me up and this is quite fucked. And I'm going to tell you a little tidbit, right? Because this phone call happened last night, so this is new information, right? Oh. And I'm going to say this right now. New exclusive to Bad Boys podcast.
Yo, wait there, hold up. Guys, we've got a big exclusive from Jallum. This has just happened last night. Drum roll. Right, go on.
And as Ethan and Cowboy as my witnesses, right? They were in this call. So if you ever feel like I'm fibbing, ask them. And if Rich wants to, if he could come out clean and admit this. If he doesn't want to admit it, I've got witnesses. You know what I mean? Like, they were there in this call. And what ended up happening, he did get a phone call, but Nathan was the one that initiated the phone call with Rich on that morning. And basically, his arsehole fell out. That's basically sums up. He fucking shat himself because he's realised Jallum's about it and I'm not. That's basically what he's realised. I'm not ready for him. That's basically it. And if he had come to me and said, I'm not ready for you, I would have gone, no worries, bro. At least you're honest with me.
No, you have that respect on you there. Like, I mean,
but
so I had a similar situation before my fight with, give me a sec, Ruben Hobbs, right? Ruben, top lad, you know, spoke to him at the event, seems like a nice lad, but similar phone call with Rich, actually, you know, where he's like, you know, where Ruben's had to pull out for medical issues. I was like, come on, don't give me that. What's his medical issues then? I went, well, let's be honest, like, you know, I think he's seen that you're a bit about it and probably doesn't want to fight, right? So just got to take, like with Richard, say he's a top bloke, you know, I've never really had an issue with him in any way. Always had decent, you know, conversations with him. But I can tell a people pleaser from a mile away, and he's definitely a people pleaser. And if he's telling me what I want to hear, it means he's telling someone else what they want to hear. And that's okay. Some people are like that. And I'm a very good judge of character. I can see these types of things happening. So, like the conversation you've had where, you know, Richard said to you that he's had a call off Nath, you know, maybe that's like him pleasing you and telling you what you want to hear as well. Just to play devil's advocate there.
Maybe, but it's a very weird situation because Leo said, why don't you meet in the middle and go to 81? And I was kicking off saying, you guys count because that's not the fucking middle. That's lower.
Yeah, it's not.
And then also, it's conflicting. Like, you're hearing different things from different guys. So then, like, Nath saying Leo and Rich came to him with a bigger fight to stitch me up. Rich is saying Nath rang him. And then Leo's basically saying he had nothing to do with either. And it's a very odd situation because if Rich's story is true, right? And he's rang me basically saying he feels like he's been pressured into it and he's not ready. And if he was honest with me and said to me, right, John, I just don't think I'm ready for it, and gone, and I would have gone, calm, mate, that's it. But you go into a group, and picture this is you as well, bad boy. This is Ruben, right? I like Ruben as well. This is not a diss on Ruben. I'll put you in my situation. Ruben pulls, it says, I'm not going to fight you, but proceeds to call you a fat cunt and lose more weight. You're shit, you're easy, and be just a top class dick. Right? Say this to the person you're ducking, right? That's like you're ducking.
I'd just turn up at his gym, mate. Put the 16s on and say, "Let's go, let's go." Well, let's find out the reason why he got that information, right? One member of the SCB team, as far as I'm aware, he's a member anyway. That's Leo Haynes. He's literally going out of his way at the moment to try and just sort of let's call it cock block. He's trying to cock block any potential fight that I might get. Obviously, I called him out for his absolutely awful commentating on the night. I called him out for all the shit information he was putting out in the build-up to that fight. And the one thing you've got to realise here is whatever happens with me now going forward, anything positive that happens, if I get a kingpin opportunity, if I get a misfits opportunity or anything that's greater than SCB, it is great publicity, the SCB. Yeah. Because essentially, you know, their headliner from SCB 002 has made it onto this show or that show. I think SCB's team needs to really pull people in and be like, listen,
as what
although you might have a personal thing here, like you've got to let Bad Boy Beeman say his piece and run with it. Because at the end of the day, right, nothing I said with after the fight to Leo Haynes, nothing I said, you know, on Twitter afterwards was wrong. It was factually correct. His commentating was dog shit. Like, he needs to go and learn how to commentate. He needs to read it. Like, I even heard, when I was watching me fight back, I heard you correct him about 4 times throughout. Like, he was, I think he's, you know, technically better. You were like, maybe not technically better. He might be fitter. Bang, knocked out. But I want to talk about you now. I want to know, like, with you leaving SCB, what is the future for Lord Jallum in content creation boxing? Is there a future there, or are you just distancing yourself from it now?
It's one of those things where I'm mostly just distancing myself from SCB now. Like, that's what that is. But I still love the scene, right? I still have the enthusiasm I had for it doesn't just go away. You know what I mean? And I'll be speaking to Halford. You know what I mean? And he's basically fine with me talking about it because I spoke to him last night, and he obviously knew I was going on this with you. And he's wanting to do stuff like with it and make some good events with proper like big creators. So you won't have people like Stinkerton who don't do anything. You know, make like content. And it was like Callum King that called him Stinkerton or something like that. It was quite funny, but
I prefer Pin Dickerson though. Pin Dick.
Yeah,
Because of his steroid abuse.
And no, it's just great because I get to like do something like similar to what I did without slaving away like I did last time. You know what I mean? Not to the extent. And I get to like make content again. I'm just waiting on thumbnails to be finished.
So hang on. I feel like I may have missed something. It might have just gone over my head. Like, but are you saying that you and Halford might be doing something together here, and Halford's going to be putting a show on?
Yeah. He's wanting to do like I mentioned it in the crossover, so I don't think he minds me mentioning it again, obviously. But
No, yeah.
like he wants to do like something like streamers or creators versus veterans.
Oh yeah. I'm aware of that. I'm actually putting my name down for that already. Yeah.
Oh, have you? That's good then. I was literally saying to him like I was on the phone to him last night, right? And he was like, I was basically saying it's great because I get to spend time with my dad more. I've got like more time now to do stuff. Like I can
help him clean the combine harvester,
and I'll give you the key. but like,
that's the hook.
I can help, but like it's like stuff like I taught my dad, like we're getting an air rifle, like popping off rabbits and stuff. People get triggered at that for some reason, but whatever. And I get to like hang out with my mates more, got more time. Like it's summer now, you know what I mean? I can enjoy myself more. But then obviously he basically said, hypothetically, if I came to you and offered you roles to help with it, would you accept it? And I basically said to him, as long as it's not slave labor, then yeah. That's basically what I said to him. He went, no, it wouldn't be. Because he has a team. He'll have a team to help him do more of that work. And I can help him with bits and bobs.
Well, I'll be honest, and I'll just say it as it is now. Jallum, throughout the whole process of me, speaking with you guys and helping with the shows and then being signed up to fight and then the whole process throughout, you were the best person and the most professional who I dealt with on the team. You said things how they were. You were very professional in every meeting. You didn't like you weren't childish, so to speak. There was a lot of childishness going on. And I'll hold my hands up and say I think you were the best member of the team throughout. And that's no diss to anyone else. I understand some of them are young. I understand some of them are quite naive in the sport, but you dealt with everything in a very, very professional manner, and a lot of respect for that, mate.
No, I really appreciate that. Like, thank you very much for.
Right, hey lads, listen, I'm gonna have to end it here. I'm literally dripping in sweat, If that ends up in the fields at the end, right, big bad beam, I'm gonna slap you all over the place.